a star. Somewhere here you are. It's safe to say, matter is this state. We mold our fate, be what it is. Here, boom, kari, boom, kari, boom, kari, 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 boom, kari, boom, kari, boom, kari, kari, kari. Give all my thanks to know this has cleared the space
This
divided.
is Justin with
Still
SFM Productions, Graffiti Studios.
The
I am
space
demonstrating
divided. Still
live 10
someone.
song
The
that we
space
did in,
divided.
it was around
Still
2014. And we're finally doing a full remix and master with Oz Fritz. Doing a live Zoom webinar on Thursday, 1 to 3 p.m. where we're going to be walking through steps of mixing the song and what we can do to make it better. If you want to join us on the Zoom call, there is a link. You guys are welcome to join right now. I'm going to be prepping the track for Thursday's session live with you guys right now. And also, just kind of giving some word that we will be going live 1 to 3 with Oz Fritz on Thursday. You guys are welcome to join us. We have quite a bit of live webinars going on. Hello, Joe and myself on Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Also working on another track. This song right here is called Boom Carrier. Thanks to the Elder Tree, we have many artists on here. May on bass, Josh Mellenberg, Pablo, Aaron Medkey on vocals, myself on vocals and guitar and percussion. And we have Mendoz on turn it back up so you guys can hear a little bit more of the right, that's our mix. We took off a lot of the effects because we're gonna just start off from ground zero with Oz Fritz on Thursday. With all the different instrumentations, we have quite a bit of tracks, and we prep the track with grouping them so that we can minimize and really kind of see exactly what we have all on one screen. Our groups are labeled most often, they're labeled, actually, they're always labeled all capitalized so that we know it's a group. And then inside the group, let's see, our drums all, they are not capitalized, all the letters. Maybe the first letter might be capitalized. That's what I've been doing. And we also would like to probably organize the colors to where they also match. I do like to know when there's a new take. So this right here, this shaker take was all done all at one time, it looks like. So it's all one color. Other takes where we brought in a new take, it changes colors. So I know that it was done in multiple takes. And I can zoom in and look at the transition. Looks like this is a pretty clean transition, but I can even make that better just by cleaning that up. So a lot of the preparations for Thursday is making sure that there's no artifacts. When I say artifacts, sounds that we don't necessarily want to hear in the mix. So our transitions, that's a crossfade going on there. Should be nice and clean. This is on the Cajon track. Hello, Nori. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. This is Boom Carrier, a song that actually never was released entirely. And it will be released soon. If you want to support this release, join us for our mixing session with Oz Fritz on Thursday. We might be doing a weekly with him potentially, hopefully. And we also have a Patreon page. And if you sign up for the Patreon page at any level, you'll get access to these releases before anyone else. Just by signing up for the Patreon page, you'll get access to Honey the Heart releases, Justin Ancheta Band, and Soul Graffiti artists at large. So a lot of these fades right here. It looks like there's no sound here, but I just feel better if there's a nice long fade in, just in case there might be a pop at some, even a small pop. Fade those all in. So we're prepping this track for our session with Oz Fritz Thursday, 1 to 3 p.m. Please join us then. There's a link right now that if you want to join us on the webinar currently, you can join me right now and ask questions in the webinar. I am checking out the Soul Graffiti live YouTube, so if you do have a question and put it in there, I will also see that. We're also live on our websites, soulgraffiti.info and sf.garnishmusicproduction.com on some live back pages. Excuse me. And yeah, we just want to engage our audience and community and let you guys know that we are continuing to teach electronic music production courses during these times, all online workshops through Zoom. And we just had Isaac Kotek as a guest teacher. And we have classes every Saturday and Sunday currently in Logic and Ableton, mixing and mastering, and sound design. So a lot of opportunities out there. I use Ableton myself, but Logic is a great tool as well that I've experience in. Pro Tools is also great. The reason why I've chosen Ableton Live is that I've been using it for almost 2 decades now. And it just seems to be the easiest. It has this other side here, the scene mode session view that really helps create songs. You have a nice overview of all of your sends. And that is a call I need to take. So let me go back to the song and play the song for you guys here. Listen back.
space divided, still all songs to one. The space divided, still all songs to one. The space divided, still all songs to one. Boom kari, boom kari, boom kari, 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 boom kari, boom kari, boom kari, 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 boom kari, boom kari, boom kari, 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 boom kari, boom kari, boom kari, kari, kari.
All right. So that was glitching out a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see my preferences. What I'm going to change here is the sample rate. I found that if I just go down to 128, sometimes that helps, and I would go back up again. I also changed my driver error compensation. This is something that definitely helps if you're trying to do live looping in Ableton with your track. You want to make sure that your overall latency is as close to 0 as possible. So right now, it's, you know, around, I'll put it down to about point something milliseconds. That should be fine. All right, let's see if that helps. So that actually got it worse. So I'm going to go back up to 512 samples. It is better at the higher sample rate, the streaming, but it's still having issues. One thing that you could do, and we might actually do this for our mixing session with Oz, is that if we're working on a vocal track, we would select all the other tracks and just zero them out so that when we're working on one thing, we can press 0 here and zero them out. I believe they actually won't zero out unless you have them open. And let's go from the very beginning. We often work with the bass and the drums first, and then go to vocals, and then the individual instruments. I'm not sure how far we're going to get on Thursday from 1 to 3 p.m., but it's a great opportunity to see a high level and efficiency of collaborating on a DAW. Oz Fritz knows Pro Tools and Logic, and we're going to be working in Ableton. I'll be driving Ableton mostly, but he can also take over controls through Zoom. And we've been doing this in person on our last album, the Dive Deep Honey of the Heart album. This will be our first time doing it through Zoom. So welcome to get feedback from you guys. And yeah, looks like we are still live on our Facebook pages, our YouTube page, and our websites. And we are promoting our live mixing session with Oz Fritz and myself on this song, Boon Carrier, in Ableton Live 10 Suite. So we're just cleaning this track up. Just want to make sure our intros are nice and clean. Looks like there was a few takes right here. Let's go ahead and just zero that out. I might want to keep that later. And this one, I'll cut that. Zero that out as well. And let's just make sure that we have our fades. So this is a lot of dead space. It's really not that bad to have, but it looks like there's a little bit of sibilance or sounds right there in the beginning. And I don't think that's necessary. This breath might be kind of nice to keep, but I think it's so inaudible that we're just going to take that out and zero those out. And when I pull these back, then it allows me to have a fade in like this right here. Looks like our fade outs here also need a little bit of help. Cleaning, cleaning. I'm not sure even why these are here. This track should be really clean and ready for Oz, just to give some good advice on the mix, the EQ, the compression. We'll be working with reverb, different effects, etc. So just doing nice fade-ins on all the tracks. This breath in the beginning we're probably going to keep on the vocals, but still fade in nicely. So it looks pretty clean right now. The tracks are organized well. You can kind of see all the coloration is where the track is, and then also where we've cut things out. It's a nice visual. You can kind of see it right here in our bass. You can pop in and see that we have 3 different bass parts going on. Let's just try and listen to that really quick. Nice. So those little pops, that's the CPU. We'll be fixing that. We're getting a new extra cores so that our streaming can also carry while we're doing the DAW, this Ableton session. All right, so we're here on the bass, and you can hear a lot of effects. Jared May played the bass here. Looks like some of the fades could also be pulled out to really make sure that there's no popping there. Bass is an instrument that really, the fade in, fade out, it often is pretty clean without having to do crossfades or fades, just because it's such a low instrument, but sometimes you can have a little pop happen, even on bass. So this might just help that when you have different tracks punched in. So let's go ahead and just listen to the lead bass. That's the background. Nice. All right. Cool. Looks like there's a sharp left, right put on. Right away, I want to bring that back to center when the bass comes in again. The low end, we don't do left, right of low end very often because it kind of creates some phasing issues. But the high end, we'll definitely be doing some panning. For example, this high effects is the bass that is affected is a full right pan. That's at 50 is really 100% pan to the right. And let's see here. you have headphones on, you might not be hearing the pan because some of the settings in Zoom, we need to make sure that everybody on the Zoom call is set to stereo. And everybody that's listening through social media, you need to get on with the Zoom call to probably hear the panning. Otherwise, it's just probably going to dumb it down to mono. So another reason just to join the Zoom call. And you also can give information, suggestions on what you do with this song and help influence this song. When there's extra space like this, we can obviously just take it out and then fade in quickly. You don't ever want to fade it like this because you're actually taking away the attack of the bass that you want to hear right up front. All right. So looking pretty good here. This is Boone Cartier giving thanks to the Elder Tree, a new mix and master of this, even though the song was recorded in 2013, I believe. We're finally going to be releasing it, and you guys get to see the back end of how we're cleaning up this track. Just in the past couple days, we've made these group tracks, and it was really helpful. Otherwise, when these are all expanded, there's a lot of tracks. All of our unused tracks that are organized here on the bottom were just scattered throughout. So now we have them in an exact location. And I did a marker when we were listening through in the very beginning because I wanted to make sure that something happened. Right here's the marker. You can just throw those markers down by pressing the set button up here. You can also set that for a shortcut key on your keyboard. Let's go ahead and listen in and see what I was trying to do there. And we're still highlighting, so it's soloing. Everything's not soloed now. All right, the vocals seemed a little bit delayed to me, and that's just a performance thing. So I'm going to go into Justin Ancheta vocals. That is me. And let's look at these. Looks like there's multiple layers going on. This is probably the lead.
Divided, still all sums to one.
Fade is okay.
Divided, divided, divided.
So this is where we might want to bring this forward.
Divide, divide.
I'm going to press Command 4 so it gets off grid and I can just slide it ever so slightly. See if that might sound better. All right. There we go. Yeah, that's all it needed. This track was done to a click, but by the end of the track, it looks like everybody got off just behind the click just a little bit. So when I'm going to be putting drums down or any instruments, I really can't quantize them exactly to the click because it would be in front of the beat toward the end of the song. So just something to be aware of. Now that I've done that fix on the vocals, I can then delete that. So it kind of cleans the track up. So it's looking pretty clean here. Just something that I like to see when things are all grouped, that there's just extra space. You can drop files here. You can also bring in your returns and have space for them. And when you are working on a specific instrument, right, you want to go to flute, then you go to flute all tracks and expand those out, right? And it makes it a little bit easier to see exactly the instrument that you're working on. Sometimes that you want you want to compare the flute to guitar, you can make sure that you have those groups side by side, or bring it, let's say drums to flute comparison. You can bring the flute up to the drums and then expand them both out. So we're in Ableton Live, excited to be doing a session with Oz Fritz 1 to 3 on Thursday. And this will be our first time doing this through Zoom and live. You are able to ask us questions, even influence the mix. You can even do that now by joining our Zoom call, telling us suggestions on what you might want to hear on this mix. We are going to be just cleaning everything up here, going from scratch with the vocals. I do have some effects that from our previous mix on here, but we will be going from scratch. And how that looks is, let's go ahead and just open up, and it looks like there's nothing in this track. So that's already from scratch. This one has this EQ on. So when we're working with Oz, we will just take this off and probably bring in a brand new EQ8. EQ8. I'll go to my effects. I like to just bring in the flat EQ here, and then we can customize it from there. I often use a really sharp drop on the high depending on when I want that to drop off. And I also drop off the low depending on where I want that to drop off, especially with voice. The voice doesn't really get below 100 or even 300, right, for some higher voices. So that's ready to go. We have extra numbers we can engage here. And it's also nice to keep it in order, right? So it looks like 5 is way down here. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 6 and 7 are off there. All right, so those are all ready to go. I want to actually save this as EQ8 JA clean. And this will just be that when we want to bring it in, it'll be there for us. And let's see, effects. I'll probably bring this into a group. VST outboard gear. It could just be called something else, maybe. VSTs and effects, how about? Cool. So these are my groups up here that can help us organize and get to the files that we really want to get to quickly. They're always on the very top. In Ableton 9, you don't have this, so it's the upgraded version of 10 that allows you to have these nice organized areas. So what we want to do is take this nice clean track and copy that into our voices so that we are ready. Vocal new. And you could also put it on the master vocals, but I think I want to do something like effects on a per vocal basis, because we were using different microphones in the recording process, and different parts, loud or soft, high or low, might want a different EQ. So something on the entire group might be like a delay that you want on all the voice, for example. All right. We do have some panning going on here that's automated. We also have some of these tracks right here. I'm going to delete this automation just because it's going to be confusing, I think, for Oz. We want to hear everything whenever it's playing and then go from there. I will keep the panning so that we can just kind of A/B the panning on or off, I think. And then all these sends, they're automated and doing a lot of things. But I think, yeah, we might take those off. Going straight from clean, this vocal new, which I think is the lead vocal currently, is entirely clean right now. There's nothing affected. This EQ is not really doing much. And then all of our sends are all at 0. So this is going to be an example of how we're going to listen to a track.
New star, somewhere here you are. It's safe to say.
Super clean. So let's go ahead and try out going into the bass and just making sure that we like how it's set up. So what do we have on the bass? All right, we have a pretty clean EQ and then this other one over here. I think that's fine. We can always bring in more points if we need them. I don't think we will on the bass necessarily. Looks like this one is definitely affected. Let's turn that off. We'll just listen to it clean. And this doesn't have anything on it. That's our bass with effects. All right. So that's looking pretty good. We have our beginning starting from 0 here, 0.0, so that our timing at the very bottom does make sense. So our end point, which is also marked, we know is going to be right there, about 6 minutes and 23 seconds. It's a pretty long song. Some of these tracks are lasting longer than the end point, which is interesting. Let's go ahead and look at that and see what it's sounding like. And we're not seeing anything. Let's go ahead and look at the automations, track volumes. Something might be soloed. Looks like the volume is down in this part already. Yep. So let's do volume. Yeah, volumes are dropping on all of these. One more just to double check. So if they're all dropping by this point, I'm just going to want to make this easier for Oz to see. So I'm going to bring this back to that point. And then, and now we're actually looking at the specific area. The ending of the track looks actually like the ending of the track. There's not anything going over that. All right. That's cleaner. We have a lot of deactivated tracks. I often would just, delete those deactivations, but we might want to listen back and get like another take. And we can always just activate it really quick to listen in. So that's why that's there. By probably after tomorrow, we will probably just get rid of those deactivated tracks and just clean it up. And often what I do is if I ever want to get back to this, I can just by going to a previous saved scene. All right, that looks like that needs cleaning. So I'll just go in here. I don't think you could see this actually, but I'm going File, Save As, and it's saying 0.03 right now. I'll go to 0.04. It's saving to the same directory, Boom Carrier, that I want it to. Okay, so this is looking pretty clean overall, getting ready for our 1 to 3 p.m. session with Oz mixing this. And you guys can join in and learn from the master Oz Fritz, Grammy-Award winning mixing and mastering producer and engineer. He just did our last album, Dive Deep. And this is a remix of a song that never was fully released. We did a a video release for a fundraiser or awareness campaign. But we will be releasing this on Spotify and all that distribution, social distribution, media distribution soon. If you guys want to support the release, you guys can join our Patreon page. There's a link in the description. And we will be having releases quite often. Since we're not going on our tour, we'll be just mixing and mastering more songs from home for all of you and creating more music. Hope you are enjoying your quarantine time. We are enjoying the springtime here, spending a lot of time in the garden and making music, things that we love to do. Hope you're doing something that you love to do as well. And we will be talking to you very soon. This is Justin from sfgarnishmusicproduction.com and soulgraffiti.info signing off. And hope to see you guys for a live webinar stream in the near future. We're going live Wednesday from 12 to 1 with Cello Joe and Thursday from 1 to 3 with Oz Fritz. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.